Hey, welcome back. Design Elements and Principles, session 9. You know what that means? We are exactly halfway through the semester. Hope everybody's doing well. Let's figure out what we're going to do today. Actually, I already know. We don't need to figure anything out. We are in session 9, and today we are going to talk about, well, everything's showing. I'm going to exit this card. Preview, start. Just want to get things looking correct here. There we go. That's how it should look for all of you. Some things I want to point out, some housekeeping is I included this GRD course checklist. This is what classes you need to take and when. First semester, second semester, third semester, fourth semester. It kind of lists things out so you understand what you need to take instead of you don't have to fully rely on the advisors, that you can say like, oh, if I took everything or 2 in the first semester, I still need to take the other 2. This lists out prereqs, everything you need to know. Feel free to talk to me, contact me about what you should take next. And look closely. We are only offering, when you get in the second semester, we only offer 1 session of each per semester. So you kind of get to choose, you only get to choose one thing only. So make sure you take a look. If you have any questions, just ask me. Feel free to ask me. And I'll just ask you, what have you taken? Have you looked at this? And then you just take the next things in line. All right, we are in session 9. That switches us to principles. We are now going to be talking about the principles of design. So we'll jump into that. First, make sure you do your attendance for session 9. I'm going to start my attempt and I'm going to hit continue. What is contrast used for? It is used for increasing saturation. It is reducing the size, no. Balancing color hues, contrast doesn't really do with balance, and creating visual interest and emphasis. Contrast, whoa. I have to check that one. It could be creating visual interest and emphasis too, because that is something we talk about. So it's one of these two. Oh, I gotta cheat. Let's see now, because the reason being is that question isn't, when I wrote it, I had a different frame of mind, but I wasn't coming through in the sense of design elements and principles. Let's see something here. Contrast. So I'm going to say that one is for creating interest. It was designed around this class, not like a Photoshop when you adjust contrast. So there's that double word that we run into sometimes. So I would do that one as creating interest. There we go. That's the answer. All right, so let's jump into the balance lecture. Today is Tuesday. As we've now changed, we're going to be doing both the research and project on Tuesday. Thursdays, we will concentrate on the bigger assignment and the reading, just so everybody understands what's switched. We're going to have a little extra lesson, as now we are going to be dealing with a little bit of typography in our projects. So just got to know a couple things, and I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. With that being said, let's jump on in. As you can see, we changed our background. We're on the principles of design. We're going to talk about balance and what balance has to do and how we create what we need to create and why we talk about balance. So big part is how the piece is laid out. So when we're working on a piece, we have all our design elements. Everything we talked about from the beginning section, those are design elements, right? Lines, shapes, forms, color, those are all, like, I want to say, physical attributes that you can move around the page wherever you want. Now we need to figure out how we need to move these around the page. What is the best way to move everything around the page to get what we need done? Well, for that, we use balance. One of the 7 that we're going to talk about is balance. Balance is, how does it feel? How does it feel to somebody? How does it look? So we can do an exact balance where we would say something in the terms of is, you know, like if I draw this and I just simply put a line down the middle and it's one side and two side, this is completely balanced. It's right down the middle. There's nothing. That's symmetrical balance, right? One side happens, the other side happens. We're all happy. You could even go as so far as to do this. I have to make it a little wider, and we'll do this and this and just pretend. We're pretending because it's not mathematical right now. But 1, 2, and 3, these are all perfect columns. That is also could be considered a symmetrical balance. It is odd number, but it's not asymmetrical, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But we're not talking about necessarily asymmetrical balance. So symmetrical means we're just running straight down the middle. Where, you know, think of a face or butterfly or identical, you know, if it's on one side, it's on the other. If we have one matching, we have another matching. And this is the simplest way to think about it right here, though it can be pushed into, this is very symmetrical as well. You can even do, you know, however you want to talk about it, you can do it like, well, if I got a piece and what if I do it like this? Well, that's symmetrical. You know, what if I do this? Symmetrical. You know, like each quadrant is the same size. Each section is the same size. Each section is the same. So symmetrical balance. Everything is even. You know what? It's enjoyable to look at. It's good. Is it great? No. I'll tell you what. Symmetrical balance design is good. It is not great. You know what's great? Asymmetrical balance. Asymmetrical balance sets things off. We start to say, like, this part is more interesting than this part, and it's not going to be in the middle. We're going to put it off to the side. We're going to have a little bit more fun. We're going to make people walk around the page with their eyes. And that's the big part about the asymmetrical balance, is we're making people look where we want them to look, and we can guide them. And for a quick example, like say this is a piece, and if I put like a big circle up here with something and then a couple smaller circles, like this is asymmetrical. That should be a little bit. So what we have is we have people going 1, 2, and 3. That's supposed to be a 2. That's supposed to be a 3. So we have people bouncing around. We're guiding them the way we want the design to be. And asymmetrical balance helps with that. Sorry, I stalled there. I was like, how did that line come out perfectly straight like that? What did I do differently? Yeah, okay. Like, so you could even, like, if I did something simple like this, and then, so this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's asymmetrical. This has the most impact, second, third, fourth, but I get you to like walk around the piece. It creates a far more interesting piece, asymmetrical balance. And it's just asymmetrical. We just say asymmetrical design. We never say balance. Radial balance is from the center out. Simply that. You can keep going. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everything radiates out from the center. I'm actually working on a piece right now for another class that deals exactly with this design. Premise is that I have information in each of these quadrants. And then the center is kind of the important part. We look to the center, and then we see what's happening in the center. And we think, okay, that's the most important because it's smack dab in the middle. And then everything is on the outside around it. More extra information, more extra. Yes, that's a good way to talk. But that's what we're talking about, radial. Radial also, you know, you could, it depends, you know, It's usually, again, starts in the center, and I could have some information here, like however it is radial, radius, it is coming out, radiating outward from a point. Most important. I mean, you could probably do an asymmetrical version, like put the information here, and then like things would go around it from there, but we just offset it from the direct middle to here, but knowing like all our information is around that main topic point. So that's radial balance. So key takeaway here, we have symmetrical, even, right down the middle. It's our favorite thing to do. It is that idea when we start typesetting, everybody uses that center one where all the type looks like this. And we put it right in the middle of the page. So like, here's a picture. And we're like, yes, it looks good, because there's nowhere for anything to mess up. Everything's just right in the middle. It's boring. Like, that's boring. So the symmetrical balance, though it needs to be used, and I use it all the time, it is not the most entertaining piece in the world. The simple thing that we can do, like one of the simple offshoots from that, is to just work with the typography. And like one big one is, I tell people, like, don't use center type. So if you have a picture up here, like I did on that last one, but I put the type, and it's all those, that's supposed to be a perfectly straight line. This where it goes down the middle, or I have this where it's kind of like straight on one edge, is actually far more interesting to look at and easier to read, instead of this where it's looks like annotations or something like that. So you can combine some of this, like the symmetrical balance with asymmetrical, to offset some things. Radial balance, I don't use nearly as much. Oh, it's a lot of fun. Achieving balance in design involves consideration of elements of the color, shape, size, everything that we use, all the elements. I shouldn't even various elements, it should be all the elements are used in this. But we don't generally use every element when we do a design. I'm not asking you to ever do a design where I'm like, I need to see one line, one shape, one form, one color, and going down the line. So that's why it says various elements. Some considerations. Visual weight. Elements with more visual weight, darker colors, larger sizes, attract more attention. Bigger. That's our main one. There used to be some, joking around in the industry about 20 years ago, and the client's number one request from anybody was, make the logo bigger. You would do a gorgeous design and have a nice little logo somewhere, and the client would come back and be like, can you make the logo bigger? And we'd be like, oh, kind of ruins the design. Like, it ruins the whole aesthetic. They wanted the visual weight on their logo, and maybe not on something that we thought was more important for the conversation being had. So like, you do a design and you throw that little logo in the corner, and they're like, no, can it be bigger at the top? You're like, oh, really? You want like the only visual attention to be on just the logo. So that used to be a big joke back in the day. There was like, somebody made like a parody rock song called Make the Logo Bigger. I think it's on YouTube. I'm not gonna look it up. Contrast helps with this. So contrast, dark and light, how do we balance that? How do we set that off? Contrast is a really great way to work with in balancing a piece. If you have something dark over here, you have something light over here. I'm doing this with that piece that I'm working on now, in which I have the radial offshoot, something is odd in the middle, and then I have my radiant, and then it's like blue, it switches colors. And the main intent of that purpose of me switching colors between each quadrant was to emphasize different facts in each one. So it's like, it would, be orange, blue, orange, blue, orange, blue, orange, blue. And the reason I did that is to emphasize certain parts. So I use contrast in the colors. I use contrasting colors to help break that up and make it more visually interesting. And then I have some new ideas for that as well when I work on that project. The arrangements in relation to each other is the main way we set off balance. I should start using this color. So, you know, we have a design, and if I just, you know, throw in squares of different sizes, you know, like so this would, you know, kind of asymmetrical. We know reading down. I could do the same thing, and then, you know, same four squares arranged differently. Here they're just like, here it's like, okay, you know, like you zigzag through it. Here, you know, you're left with like, oh, if I wanted to put information, it all goes on the sides. Here, like, it's interjected in the middle of some of the stuff, and I think it's just reads better than this would read. And then so like that's how when we talk about the spatial arrangement, here it is, same sort of ideas going on, but just the way they're arranged changes it. I think this is, you know, this is the winner. Far more interesting than just like, I'm going to put everything in the middle. So that's something to think about when you do your poster designs is, are you just putting everything in the middle? Or are you trying to, like, you know, when we do that walkthrough is you have a logo, 3 HLs, date, paragraph, and then 3 images, right? So you're like, okay, how do I want to offset these? Like, oh, I could put the logo up on the side, say it was a long logo, and then I got, you know, if I do 3 headliners, I could do 3 images, and then I have the paragraph and the date. So then the date would go here, and then the paragraph. But that's, you know, and then it's like way too much room. But this is asymmetrical in design because I have it offset with this side logo. But then it's like, oh, I should rearrange all that. Then I could go further. Like, these pictures should be key. The paragraph is less. What's the hierarchical order? And then that's how I create a design with balance or no balance. Let's check out our pieces. This one, Titanic. Can't get any more symmetrical than this, can you? I mean, it's just right down the middle. It's just, this harkens back to an age-old, like, designs in old style posters. We broke it down the middle. Boy on one side, girl on the other, half the boat on one side, half the boat on the other. If you notice, the light side is the girl side. The dark side is the boy side. I'm not saying anything about it, but that may have something to do with it. The name is broken up right in the middle. Everything's right in the middle. I mean, it can't get any more, just like that is what it is. You know, and then the balance is like crazy. If you really go into depth, like here, the little port window is light. Here, the port windows are dark. I think I found other things in this. There's something else. But I mean, it's exact balance. Like, you're right. There's really not much happening in this, but it's more about these two sort of than anything else. These two and the boat. That's what it is. Here we got a website. We talk about that balance, and it's wonderfully balanced. Image, about us. Them as a group, awards and competitions. A piece of art, exhibitions. So, and then the starters at the top, all perfectly centered, symmetrical. This is what I was talking about in the very beginning when I was like, here's a very symmetrical design. very balanced, very symmetrical design, even though it's in odds. So you can have odds. It's just as balanced as this piece. It's this piece. So that's, you know, that's where we go from there. Yeah, it's just perfectly kind of broken out. And then we have our sections. We know the name, where we want to go on the website. These draw interest, and then we go down from there. Easy peasy. Radial design, right? Our eye goes right darkest spot, and that's an important thing because we are joining Tabitha and Daniel, right? Perfectly aligned. They even put these little dots in the same spot on each side. Very well done. Boom, boom. We have date. We have time. Perfectly symmetrical. We have fancy the, fancy of. And like all these too, radiate out. Wedding is the bridger. We have so-and-so invites us. Where do they invite us? To here. Festivities to follow. Perfectly symmetrical. Fun little doily coaster design. Real fun. Like it. Nice typography. I'm sure a lot of this was hand done. Pretty cool design. So, you know, there we go. Extremely balanced. Little less balanced. Radial balance. Asymmetrical. This is the stuff. This is where it starts to get interesting. Like this is just right off the bat, way more interesting than anything we looked at least in my eyes. Here we have this cat, which takes up a good 1/3 of the piece. The cat we look at, it's darkest. It's kind of the darkest thing. And the lightest thing on the page is the eyeball, which is looking this way to the text. How to be a wicked witch, blah, 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 blah. And then here's the weird part. And weird, I mean awesome. We read through it. How to be a wicked witch, and we come by Patricia Ellis. And you know what this does? This shape sends us right back to the beginning. So if we come in from this side and are somehow distracted, we have the eyeball and the tail to bring us to where we need to be. And then in that, we have the beautiful design. Gorgeous, asymmetrical design, right? It's this, but hierarchically, it's perfect. This takes up a good area. This, you know, a subject matter takes up a good area. And then all this is lower. But in the end, it is a very balanced piece, even though we say it is quote unquote not balanced. It just works so good. Like this one keeps me in it. Like, if I go up to these, you know, this is good. You read it, you're like, okay, I'm done. This one, you go here, here, okay, oh yeah, the guy, girl, boat, Titanic, goodbye. You know what I mean? Like this one, they worked it, so you stay in it. Then we have this rad piece here. We talk about working in threes in design. Odd numbers in design is far more interesting than even numbers. That goes with balance. Two, well, you go 1, 2, 1, 2, or you go 1, 2, 3, threes. Let's talk about 1, 2, 3. So balance, we got this big guy. This is pretty right in the middle. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna offset it with another circle and then another one. So we have these 3 planetary pieces. We have these lines. One comes all the way through, one comes all the way through, and then we have an offset and an offset. It's helping us balance, but it's asymmetrically balanced. Then to help us know that this is very important right here, we have this orange circle. And then the orange circle repeats, the orange color repeats here and here. So key points of information, this is like, you guys should be looking here, then you guys should look around here, and then you should look down here. Very asymmetrical, but again, it keeps you like looking at every part. Here's very important. You know, like the biggest circle is the most important thing. Second biggest circle is University of Cumbria. Great. Here's like, just threw that in, but that's enough to keep us, you know, like this working of threes interesting. We have the lines that help us bring us down to see more information. We have the orange to say, make sure you're looking here. You always go back. I always go back to this giant orange thing, but then when I look around, I'm like, okay, orange, more orange. So it's very asymmetrical, very offset, and very like wonderfully done in the way that keeps you interested in wanting to look at the piece. Again, if I go back up here, you know, so this piece, I lose interest in this right away. This one, good, I get my information, I know where it's at. These two are like, I want to keep around. I keep looking at. They're far more interesting in the sense of like asymmetrical balance. They're asymmetrical, they just work better, they seem better, they feel better. So they're pretty great. All right, any questions, comments, or concerns? I don't think there are. All right, let's check out our balance research. Balance research is now done in the program of Illustrator. For this, you will need to show me your work. So you do include the upload your working file and PDF. So make sure you include both in there, and I will talk you through. You're going to make a 16:9 document, all these things, and then you're going to place in your balanced or unbalanced images. I'm going to move that to my side. I am going to open up Adobe Illustrator, bring this in, go to New File. I want it to be 16 tab 9. Make sure it's one artboard, 16 wide by 9 tall. I want my bleed to set at 0.5, and I can just hit tab. It advances through. And for this one, it's a single page, so I'm going to hit create. Now I'm going to double click on this layer, and I'm going to call it margin. And I'm going to hit return. I'm going to create a box. The box is going to be 15 by 8, so I'm going to draw a box. I'm going to go over here in my properties panel, and I'm going to double click. I'm going to type in 15 tab 8. For the fill, I'm going to have no fill. For the stroke, I want magenta. On this line, I'm going to magenta, and I want it to be 1 point. Why 1 point magenta? That is the industry standard for indicating a margin on a document. That's why. It's done. Everybody does it. Next up, I'm going to make sure it's perfectly centered. So in my properties right down here, I'm going to click on the center, and I'm going to click on that center. Now these are perfectly centered. I'm going to turn on my ruler, so you can go to View, Rulers. Let's do that again. View, Rulers, Show Rulers. All right. And I'm going to pull one ruler. So when I say pull, I'm going to click and drag from the ruler into the middle. And I'm going to click and drag from the ruler into the middle. Now I know, that was kind of crap. Now I know exactly where the middle. I got to be slower. I'm like, oh, I know exactly where the middle of my document is. I do this just so I know. I know exact middle. When I do a design, where's the middle? If I want a title in the middle, I got a middle indicator. I'm all set here. I am going to click on this margin layer. I'm going to go up to this hamburger menu, and I'm going to go to template. What that does is that makes sure that anything on margin will never show up in a final print. It is there for you. It is there for the next person who's going to work on this piece. You say, next person to work on this, who's going to work on this piece? In the future, when you work on designs, you will give the design to another person. possibly to work on, possibly to print. They need to know what's going on. They need to see all your work, and they need to know that anything on this layer will not print. They don't have to worry about turning it off. And that's why we do that. Now let's create some crop marks, because if this thing does go to print, we need to know where to cut it out of the larger piece of paper, that being talked about in session 8 when we talked about the layout. Crop marks are created very similarly, into which I create a layer. I'm going to click on this plus here. It creates a crop mark layer. Now I'm going to create a rectangle that is the size of the artboard, 16 by 9. Here's where 50% of you won't remember what to do. I'm going to say it twice. We make sure that the crop mark has no fill and no stroke. The crop mark will have no fill and no stroke. I'll see it when it comes on. If you see a pink line, you have to go back in, turn off that stroke, and then get back to normal. So no fill, no stroke. And then under this FX button, I'm going to go 3 down, and I'm going to hit crop marks. And it's going to put in these crop marks. And those are meant for the printer as well. So the printer understands where they need to cut this out if they were to print it for you for a piece. Why do we do this? This is industry standards. This is what we do when we set up a document. We think about all the process that needs to go into the document, no matter what. And these are always just the standards. I need to know where the margin is so I don't put things too close to the edge of the artboard. They get cut off or they look lousy. That's what the margin for. Crop marks are there so that the printer knows how and where to cut this out. And then the bleed, which we put on earlier, is if you have a background, anything that you want to have touch the artboard actually needs to go all the way out to the bleed. That ensures that when you cut a piece out and you want color from edge to edge to edge to edge, it will work out wonderfully for you. Now we're going to include 3 more layers. The layers are movable. As you can see, these layers are like pieces of glass, and each one can hold artwork. It can be turned on. It can be turned off. It can be locked. And moved around. That's the other one. Moved around. So background. So by locking them, see this little lock? I turn that on. If I lock a layer, that means I can no longer touch a layer. See how I got that little indicator there? Can't do anything. If I turn this on and I go here, it will allow me to work there. If you have troubles and you're like, something's not working right, you always should look at your layers and see which one is, for me, it's blue. It might be different colors for other people. I feel like there's this ambient thing setting, and if you have a mostly blue background, it'll do these as blue. I don't know. So that's how you know. You're like, oh, so you could be like this and be like, I'm trying to do stuff and nothing's happening and it's not warning me. There, it warned me, but I have it unlocked. I have it unlocked. Well, no, but you need to be on it for it to work. So that's what you do there. And you are all set. So title, images, and background. Let's do a background. I'm going to do just yellow. I'm just going to do a yellow background because I want to show that when you do your background, folks, when you do it, I'm going to pick yellow. You need to not start at the artboard. You need to start at the bleed. Your background color, and say I wanted stripes in it. I'm going to put some stripes in it. I'm going to put a top stripe for the header. That needs to go all the way to the bleed. So you have your artboard ends here, but we need to go past the artboard all the way to the bleed, right? You have to start using your brains and your imagination to know, like, this is the edge of the artboard. There are ways you can quickly, if you go to, I believe if you click on these and go to presentation mode, it removes that for preview, and you're like, okay, just looking at it, looks good, escape. I used to put in special like blockers on a layer really high up. So, but you have to remove these, or you use a template. So I'll call this like edge block. All right. And then I'm going to zoom out. And this is, if you don't do this right, you will get called out on it. So all my color goes out to the bleed, right? And then what I did is these are blockers, and I'm going to grab all 4. What I did is just drew lines, you see. And if I take my eyedropper to that gray, oh, shoot, I had the background unlocked. And if I click on that gray, what it does is it just covers up that bleed if I need to figure that out. I don't do this anymore, but if you do this, you need to set it as a template as well. So if you're going to do it and it's not a template and I see that you have gray, but it's not templated, you'll get it wrong. This kind of helps because it takes that away, but you have to understand that you still need to do it. That's just like a helper. I don't need it anymore. I've gotten used to just knowing this black line is the edge of my artboard and the margin is my safety zone and the bleed is the bleed. So we are on balance. I almost said space. That's why I stalled up. I was like, wait, I'm going to say the wrong thing. So for the typography, I'm going to use point type. Point type is just click, and I'm going to call it Principles Research Balance. The reason I did the point and I didn't draw a text box is I have very little text. And if I do it by point text, that means I can hold down Shift and just easily make my type bigger. If you do a text box and you just simply try to make the text bigger, it will not make the text bigger. These are 2 different type boxes. Hopefully you have learned that in typography or in Illustrator. If you need help with understanding that, please let me know. I will help you out. Now, Myriad Pro is the standard font. And guess what? I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use this Tico semi-bold. Kind of cool. And I'm going to make that bigger. And something I'm going to get balanced. So I want to get it perfectly centered in there. So I use certain tricks. So I drew a little box. And if I pull a guide and then delete that box, I know now where the exact center of this blue is minus the bleed. So if I do my text, then I can bring my text up and like get it centered. And as you can see, there's more on the bottom than there is on the top of this text box. So I'm balancing, I'm putting the text right in the middle, which actually just hits it right at that area. And I don't want black. Let's do yellow. All right. Titles, background. Let's find some images. '50s. Images. Tools. Size. Large. Balance. I'm looking for like perfect balance. Like I'm looking for one. I want this one, but I don't like the angle that it's on. I love this, the Martian. This is beautiful. This is asymmetrical balance. You know what? This is so asymmetrical. Look at that. This is great. Like it's so interesting. I got to do it. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to save image as. I'm going to save it to my desktop and it's called Book 1 or book. This is session 9, so I'm going to be Book 09. Save. And then I want album covers. Is that for real? That's so asymmetrical. Look how interesting these are. Symmetrical, yet asymmetrical. Let's do this one. This would be album 09 referencing which session we're in. And then movie posters. Oh, look at this. Perfectly down the middle. Boom, boom, boom. With a little asymmetrical, but another killer piece. Well, I didn't mean that because of the death in their hands, but save image as, and this is poster 09. Save. I got web P and a web P, so I need to convert those. They won't place. Pretty sure they don't place. Let's say file, place. So I just have to convert the style. Oh, it does place. All right. I'm doing these one at a time because they weren't next to each other in this list. Who would have thunk? I did not know this was going to happen. Look at their teal and yellow. Look what they did and what I did. Totally not done on purpose. Oh my God, that's so cool. I wish I would have done that on purpose. I need to reduce the size of all these. So I grabbed all three, and to quickly reduce the size, I know my scale tool. If I double click on that and I hit 25, it made them small and over here, but at least that's a starter. I'd rather have them start too small than too big. I can arrange this one. Again, never not hold shift, right? Always hold shift. Why do I have to hold shift? Because you don't want it to look ugly. You want everything to be the exact size that it should be. If you don't hold shift and you screw up the size of it, you're screwing up the whole look and feel of somebody else's artwork. You know, they spent time on this, and then you're like, oh, whatever. I'm going to have them go over that edge a bit. I'm going to see how big I can make them. I need enough room at the bottom. I'm hoping I could get like these tight enough. That's pretty cool. I had this feeling I messed that one up. I'm going to place it, file. It just felt like I may have like shrunk it wrong. So I just want to double check my work. Nope. Okay, all good. So I'm going to delete that. All right, and then let's put in our other titles. I'm going to tap once, and this is book cover. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. It's in the right font, but it's in the wrong color, so I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to hold down shift. We never not hold down shift. I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to make sure I have a gap here, right? The text cannot touch the book. We don't have text touch anything, and I want it to be in this teal color. So I just eyedropped that. So that's a book cover. Scoot it over, get it aligned on the left. And this is movie poster. Final one. I can hold the space bar. Album cover. All right. I'm going to zoom out now. Whoops. All right. So I'm going to save this. Actually, I want this. I'm going to tap this up. I just want it touching. Tap it and tap. I'm going using my arrow key to get it perfectly where I want it. Then I go to File, Save As, JSKAJA _ and it is to be called balance all right, and I save that. Okay, and then I go to File, Export, Export As. I'm going to save it as a PDF. Export. I want just click on smallest file size. Make sure View PDF after saving is clicked. Go to use marks and bleed. And nothing is clicked. Hit Export PDF. There we are, and you can turn that in. All right. Let's move on to the next piece. Next piece. You are to create 6 type compositions using balance and asymmetry to define the design. I want create 3 balanced typographic compositions using a single sans serif font. Create 3 asymmetrical typographic compositions using a single serif font. I have a little thing right there. I'm going to download my Principles 01. I am going to open up my little document and talk about serif or sans serif, in case you didn't know. Serif are letters that have these extra parts on them. Little flags, they call them flags or feet. They're special little parts right there, right here. The foot, the foot, the foot, the flare, like all these little flares make it a serif. Sans is French for without or no. So serif or sans serif, no serif. That's how we know. Serif fonts have small lines or strokes, serifs, attached to the ends of the main strokes of the letters. Times New Roman, Times, the common font everywhere. Times, it's what books are typeset in. Is 90% of the time books are typeset in Times New Roman. That's the main one. Sans serif, Helvetica. I hope at some point you've heard of the word Helvetica or Arial. Sans serif, just standard font. I use it in these types of situations where I want bold, I want people to see it. I do like to read it like this, but I sometimes will use a bold sans serif titles with typography body copy that is serif. So you can mix and match them as well. So from here on out, when people say serif or sans serif, make sure you know what you're talking about, because you are now a professional graphic designer. So with that said, the project piece has an example. And here it is. I want you to do sans serif balanced. This is balanced. Perfectly down the middle, arranged perfectly in the middle on the side. This is a perfectly balanced composition. This is asymmetrical. Everything's off and jammed to a side, right? And I want you to have some fun with these. The type you can just type out. So you can just hit the lorem ipsum, and then the words you are going to use too is this. So the way to go about it is you type out one this, copy and paste. One is, and one balance. And I'm going to use the eyedropper for the text. Then I'm going to pick a different from my list of thousands of fonts, too many to even think about. I can even go here and I can go to filters and just say only show me sans serif fonts. A little bit on the edge, but I'll do it, this weird balloon font. And so if I have this is balanced, you know, like what am I going to do? Oh, I mean, of course, this is just like, there used to be just generic food. We just call it generic. It was like store brand, but it was like classified. We call it generic. And they used to have a white label with black text. And it was just like so simple, like, oh, there you go. I mean, that's beautifully done. Like right there, boom, done, balance. Asymmetrical, do the same thing. Just come up with some type it out. This, let's make this a little bit smaller. Again, you're doing all three. Remove mine is. And here, when I do this, I'm holding down Shift and Option. And if you hold down Shift and Option, it will pull a copy for you. It's something I do every day. You need to know how to spell it right down here. Grab all three of those. I'm going to go to my fonts. I'm going to clear the filters. I'm going to go back to filters, and I'm going to click on this. What is this weird one? Oh, that's horrible. Let's do that one. Click on that. And now asymmetrical, off balance. Need to set this thing. And this is, asymmetrical is always harder, but it looks cooler. So what if I'm going to start here. And I'm just going to have the message be really weird. Oh, I might cut off like half of that top of that. And then for this, why not? Hey, now there's a fun example. So like when you see these two, like this down and dirty, but this one you're like, you keep looking at and you keep thinking like, I wonder why they did what they did. This is kind of weird. It's interesting. So these are the words you use. This is balanced. This is asymmetrical. 3 of each. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. That covers off for Tuesday's lecture. Let's see what else. Anything else that I need to inform you about at this point? I don't believe there is. Make sure you are staying on top of things. Like I said, this is the second half of the course. Yeah, let's do it. Let's have some fun. Start working on those bigger projects, which is going to be way more fun on Thursdays. We will concentrate solely on the larger projects. So that may be a little bit of a shorter lecture because we're only concentrating on one thing. You guys all know how to do these. You've been doing them for 8 weeks. That's what I got for you. if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. I am around now on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays only. I may set up a special working session on a Monday or Wednesday that will be that'll be restricted a little bit. Like I'm still thinking about it, where you sign up to come in. So I know if I even need to come in. But if you want dedicated help, dedicated tutoring, I might set up a time. If you do want that, let me know and be like, I would like that, and I will let you know where I can set it up. The only days I have available, though, are Mondays and Wednesdays. So, all right. With that being said, I hope you guys have a great week. If I don't talk to you on the discussion boards, I will talk to you on Thursday when we talk about, what is it? Our pamphlet design, pamphlet research. All right. It'll be great. Cool. Talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.